July 23rd, 2013, Conservation Commission. And we have a busy night tonight, Commissioners. The Abington Conservation Commission was set up really to look after open spaces and areas conservation to do with water and spaces like that. But actually, regulatory is what we seem to be known for a lot recently. So we have two lots to do with 810 Washington Street and 806. They're really parallel. We'll have to try and take them in order separately just so we can keep tabs on what we're doing, but we can talk about them together if you like. And then we have the Boston Gas, and then we have the emergency order in Centre Avenue. So it's a busy night tonight. I'll begin firstly to ask, is anybody taping this meeting? I don't think anybody is. But we are having it taped for the people at home. I'll move into old business to do with open space. And is there any issues to do with open space?
No, not yet. Haven't touched it in the last 2 weeks.
Right.
So no update yet.
No update. No, but I'm going to follow up with the assessor for you too.
Okay.
Okay. All right, we'll move on to, we'll take first 810 Washington Street. And when we, excellent. We'll leave it there, over there. Is that okay?
Sounds
I can move the
fine,
camera.
as long as everybody else is happy.
Excellent. Okay. And actually, this 810 and 806, a few of us went out to have a look at it on Saturday.
Yes, yeah, I could not be there. But I understand that Mr. McSherry was present.
Yep. So I actually took some photographs. And I did do a little site report. Did everybody get that?
Oh, no. Oh,
Aha, there we are.
very nice.
So just pass that down.
Look at that, he even did a drawing on it. That's pretty good.
Unbelievable.
And then these are photographs. I'm going to pass it. You just bear with us. You just got to read them. No, actually,
Yeah,
I
I just
share
finished
this
it,
with
yeah.
you. Did you guys? Yes.
Yes, I have.
Okay.
Nancy, did they issue the file number on 806? I forgot to check.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
they
Yeah,
did.
they did. 469.
So I think one of the questions that we were asking was whether this was a intermittent stream or a perennial. And I think that what we probably need from you is, as the applicant, and I'm sorry, my name's Kathy Creighton. I don't think I met you the last time through.
No, you were not here.
Yeah, and you are?
I'm Pat Carrar, engineer with PMP Associates.
Okay,
We-
great.
we
Nice to
actually-
meet you. Yes. I talked to Mike, I think.
Mhm.
I don't know that I've talked to you, I don't remember, probably years ago. But for us, I think if you could write us an explanation of why you consider it an intermittent stream rather than a perennial, I think that would be helpful, because I just want to make sure that's documented in the file.
Well, my understanding is that during the site visit Saturday, the ditch was dry.
That is correct.
Okay, well, I mean, that alone qualifies it as not a
Isn't it
perennial
more than
stream.
one day?
No. The definition of a river under the Wetlands Protection Act and the Rivers Act is a river is any natural flowing body of water that empties into any ocean, lake, pond, or other river in which flows throughout the year. Rivers include streams that are perennial because surface water flows within them throughout the year. Intermittent streams are not rivers as defined herein because surface water does not flow within them throughout the year.
The preamble to the regulations talk about 4 days without water and also mentions the drought periods. Now, it isn't on the USGS, so right there, you
Right.
know, I'm not necessarily disagreeing with the classification. I just think for our purposes, some kind of response would be helpful, because I do believe that the preamble that I didn't bring with me, sorry, I should have copied it, talks about 4 days. And the one that I picked up on the internet, and talked about making sure that we're not experiencing a drought condition. The neighbors talk about seeing water 11 months out of the year, but it is still not 12 months out of the year, and it's not 4 days.
Yeah, I'm looking at a definition of freshwater wetlands, as in the WPA, Chapter 131, Section 40, Section 8 of that. It says the term freshwater wetlands shall mean wet meadows, marshes, swamps, or an area that provides a significant part of the supporting substrate for a plant community for at least 5 months of the year, emergent and submergent plant communities in inland waters, and that portion of a bank which touches any inland waters. When I was there, I actually did feel the soil, and it was wet, and we did see watermarks on the stones. So I actually give credence to the neighbours who say that the stream must be there sometime in the year.
Oh, we're not disputing that.
No.
We're not disputing that water does go through that ditch, but everybody seems to be in agreement that it's not a perennial stream because it does dry up. All the neighbors have freely admitted to that. You have one neighbor that says 11 months out of the year. We had another neighbor who specifically stated that it's dry during the summer. I don't think we really need to take it any further than that.
Why was the well not on your map?
That was an oversight on my part. I do apologize. We did locate that well. It's 5 feet north of the first flag 12.
It would be hard to miss it.
No, we didn't miss it. We did locate it. Like I said, it's actually 5.213 feet north of flag 12. We did locate it. It just forgot to get drawn in on the plan. But we did investigate that well. We put a rod down inside of it, and all we felt in the bottom was earth and leaves. We didn't feel any concrete cover, no wooden cover. So it was our belief that the well had been filled in long ago, and that the structure was just left there either for ornamental purposes but it was just left there.
Right.
So we could not find that the well was, like I said, there was no physical well left anymore.
Right. Right. Are there any other comments?
Classifying this as an intermittent stream or a stream, what does that do to?
The significance is the buffer zone
Okay.
and the length of the buffer zone. Would you agree?
Yes, if it's an intermittent stream, there is no riverfront area associated with it. It's the border of the wetlands and the buffer zone associated with the flagged wetland line. Again, to try to classify it as a river, I think from what we've all seen and what we've all heard, there's just no criteria there to do it.
Yeah, the Riverfront Protection Act would enact some regs within 100 feet of the
Okay.
river. That's the reason I just felt like I don't know that I felt like we had necessarily documented what I think we discussed, and I think that was really my point.
Okay.
And with the varying neighbor responses, it just seemed like a smart thing to do.
I suppose one of the questions we have is, do we agree with the wetlands as flagged? Because that's implicitly or not implicitly, explicitly what the Conservation Commission is supposed to do when they go out there to do a site walk. This is very important. It seems a rather arbitrary question, but remember that the houses are being built very close to the wetlands. So that's why it's important.
Right, we're going right up to the, the 10-foot protection zone that we have.
And that's Abington allows, or has a past practice of allowing 10 feet within the buffer zone up to the river, or not river, sorry, the wetland area, the resource area to work in. They're not supposed to work in the 10 feet area, right, but up to it. That's what the key was. That's why it was presented that way.
Well, you obviously called out something in your report here about the red maple and the yellow birch being farther east from the marker that you were referencing. But I'm not quite sure that
Well, I put a question mark on that because I wasn't too sure. I see that actually your studies actually all go around flag 13, and ours did too. That was the first thing. Actually, it's the most successful flag. So that's what we actually worked around that too.
Yeah, that was actually the first flag that Dr. Hewitson actually found a plant plot that he could actually define the upland and wetlands line with, because going south along the ditch, there was virtually no wetland vegetation growing there.
Right.
It was all upland vegetation, so he was basically just flagging the top of the bank. And like I said, when he got to flag 13, that's where he actually found some definitive wetland species. So that's how we developed the line for flag 13 north.
I think the significance in all this is not so much the building, because like I said in our first hearing, I don't think it's going to actually change the plans at all, but it might be how we suggest that the wetlands are protected. Mm-hmm. That might be it, in the protection. And we would ask you what kind of protections are, you're going to use. But does anyone have any other comments? Are we okay with the wetlands as flagged?
Yeah, I didn't see anything.
Eaten
Right,
alive, yeah.
Yeah, we're all just like pondering the answer, I think,
Yeah.
Dennis. Yeah, I think I might have had the same question you had, Dennis, there, but otherwise I really didn't have a whole lot of comment on the line. I think I was more concerned about the drainage and the impact of the heavier rainstorms on that drainage ditch, that whatever we call it, intermittent stream there, and what we're going to do to protect the wetland there.
Yeah, and that's why I read the definition of freshwater wetlands, because it's definitely, I don't think there's any dispute that it's freshwater wetlands.
The first time I walked onto the site and I followed it and looked to the north, and it was clearly some associated wetlands. That's why we had it flagged.
Right.
So we're trying to do things the right way here.
Absolutely. So, shall I ask Pat to talk about how he's going to protect the wetlands? Can we move to that?
Yeah, yes.
That's what
So, in your plan, and I know you did this before, how do you intend to actually put a barrier?
It's quite all right. Well, we're proposing, again, standard silt fence is required. We're not doing any work beyond the limit of that silt fence. And quite frankly, within the last 5 or 10 feet, the surface disturbance is going to be very minimal. As I showed you before, we're actually, on this particular lot, this lot is level to slightly up gradient of the ditch. So I took a lot of care as to not alter the existing surface drainage patterns with the placement of the house and the proposed grading. So again, we're not touching anything beyond the wetland line. As we do go to the north, we do go up gradient of the ditch, and we are getting further and further away from the ditch as we go to the north. So, in my estimation, we're not really altering the surface drainage pattern. Most of the water is going to shed and actually run down towards Washington Street, where it's mostly going now.
Right.
Where is the silt line on there? Sorry, that you're
No,
proposing?
that's what, the silt fence is right around here. It says limit of work.
So you're going to put the silt fence there?
Yes.
That's where they're going to go.
Yes,
So,
and
I'll show that.
you can see right back here, there's a 106 contour behind the house, proposed finished grade. There's an existing 106 contour right there. So the change in grade behind the house is really going to be very minimal. There's an existing ridge that runs right through this large pine tree and right down through the lot, and it kind of goes out to this direction. So we're not altering that. purposely without altering that, because we don't want to shed any more water into that ditch than what's already going there. I think as you saw, as you get up past flag 14, the ditch kind of disappears. There's no bank anymore, it just kind of flattens out, goes into a low area, and that's what causes the wetlands to go up through the stone wall. Because that's where the water's kind of sitting, it's making its way through the wall to the north. And then, you know, if you looked over the wall, you see the start of the ditch again on the other side of the stone wall.
You have a ditch marked there on that plan, do you?
Yes, yes, we do have it marked. Like I said, it ends about 10 feet north of flag 14, and there is no ditch in here. The water just kind of goes overland and goes to the wall. And then on the other north side of the wall, the ditch starts again.
And I think we would want commissioners that you would put the well in where in each county. The well should be in your plans.
The well feature.
Yeah. And we would really draw that in.
Yeah, I mean, we can, like I say, again, that was oversight on my part, but we can certainly put that in on the as-built plan to show that that was not disturbed.
Yeah.
Because it is behind the wetlands line, as it is.
Right. I mean, I think the significance of the well really is just that there was water there, there may have been more water there.
Well, it is, it's a feature.
Yeah.
No, that's fine, like I said, we're more than happy to put that right on the as-built plans when you get them, so you can see that the well is not disturbed.
Commissioners, can I open this up to the floor?
806, right?
So I would pan the camera, but I wouldn't do that since, you guys didn't bargain for that in the chamber tonight. But does anybody have any questions on that? About 806 Washington?
Oh,
Did 806, right?
806?
This is 810.
Oh,
This is
sorry,
810, right?
Is that, sorry, 810. I beg your pardon, 810. Does anybody have any problems?
Just Dennis Lynch, 89 Colonel Hunt Drive, about 810 and 806. Just the same concerns that I pretty much shared with the board and what I brought up last time. The drainage, that it's such a huge encroachment on the wetlands as it is. You know, it's coming in all within 10 feet pretty much. I know the limit of work is going to be 30 feet from the ditch. But when this house is sold, what's to stop the new owner from going beyond the limit of work and taking down trees? There would be nothing to stop them.
Well, yes, there would. There'd be a recorded order of conditions, which would specifically state that the limit of work as shown on the plan is the limit of work. You know, I'd even, you know, say to the commission, if you want some kind of a more permanent marker along the limit of work. I mean, that's not a big issue because we have to stake the silt fence anyways.
Right. How do you mean a more permanent marker?
Sometimes we
yeah,
were talking
PVC pipe or
granite, granite marker sometimes is used to stake the limits. Usually it's.
But I would correct Mr. Lynch to say that there is no encroachment upon the wetlands. Because to say that would mean that we are actually going beyond the wetlands line, and that is certainly not the case here.
Or in the
And
buffer.
we are not encroaching upon the zoning setbacks either.
Well, we don't know about them, but the wetlands certainly. I mean, I'm not too sure if I would agree with for more permanent thin on the land, to be honest.
Did that answer your question? Or did it at least address it properly?
Somewhat. My biggest thing is the drainage, obviously, just because, I mean, even right now when I left, my biggest thing is the drainage, and when, you know, when all's said and done, when the houses are built and everyone's gone and the new owners are in, and if it starts to back up, you know, the new owners are not gonna know what's going on. They're not gonna, you know, and it's just gonna be, I feel like it's gonna be, you know, a big mess. And that buffer, you know, we had in the old regs with zoning that buffer zone is gonna be maintained, and it looks on these plans that that's gonna be the case. But I just get worried that, you know, that's all gonna change.
Well, any construction deals with removal of land and all, but here you're talking about an actual incline, aren't you? So you don't think it's really going to back up as such, do we?
I don't know.
If anything,
No, I mean, his house is upgrading to the ditch. This is gonna have no effect on his property.
As long as the ditch stays intact
And open.
and open.
Right, and again, they're not gonna be anywhere near the ditch.
Right. And obviously if something impedes that ditch, you should let us know.
Okay.
That would be my other comment, is that we don't know until you tell us, but we will, we'll try to help you as well if there's something in the ditch or if somebody's starting to encroach on it. But, the water drainage from the house it will, I think the way you have it graded, as long as they meet what's intended here, will go downhill. So it will go towards, Island Grove,
Mhm.
essentially, to the pond.
Without flogging a dead horse, do you think we have to be worried about that? Because there's nowhere where the water, at the moment there is a house there, but now there's going to be 2 other houses, so there's nowhere the water goes.
For us, under the DEP regs, because it's just 2 house lots, we really don't, they're not required to put in drainage. We can always ask them to do something. I think right now you're saying that there is nothing handling the water, it's just going downhill and
Right.
going where it goes.
Right.
The only thing that you would think about is, whether you put
Where the
some
nearest
kind of
catch
ditch.
basin is.
Yeah, if there is one. Is there a catch basin system at the storm drain? Because I don't have one in my
I don't
neighborhood.
believe, let me flip this around for a second. Yeah, there's a catch basin down the driveway of the next lot, 806. That was the only catch basin within the area.
And that would be the only thing you might think about, is whether you want to make sure that the grading goes that direction.
Yeah, and Washington Street actually pitches downhill to the south. So that's why that catch basin is to the south of the site.
We have to presume that zoning took that into account when they looked at this. Because
You only went to zoning and not planning, correct?
This went to zoning actually twice before I was ever involved.
But it did not go to planning.
No, didn't
No.
have to go to, well, just the Form A plan went to
Right.
planning. But they had to go to zoning, get zoning approval for the 2 lots first.
And why do they need to go twice to zoning?
Oh, there was a Form A plan done in 2001, and then I believe there was a corrective plan that these plans are all based on, issued in 2011.
Oh, right. So it's just 2 different
So,
things.
yeah, so it's just a,
Okay. Can I move on? Has anybody else got a comment? We're all set. So we'll move back, and we're going to do the orders, I think, at the end of the evening, if I may. But just on the plans themselves for 810 Washington Street, is there a vote to approve the plans as written for 810 Washington Street?
I make a motion to approve the plans for 810 Washington Street
Thank you, Chair.
as presented.
I'll second.
Second. All those in favour?
Aye.
Unanimous, okay. And I'll open up the hearing to 806. So 806, we have a number now, right?
Yes, 469, 84, 469.
84, 469. Okay, so opening up 84, 469. And again, we went out to have a look at this. We really talked about it just now. Probably the same discussion applies. Is there any comments? I think it was the one that we started on. We started on that and then went down the other one. So I'll quickly open it up to, do you have any comments?
if unless you need me to, just want me to go over the plan again real quick, or?
Yeah, the protections. But, well, actually, you did. I mean, it's the same protections. For the
Yeah,
other
it's
side.
essentially the same. This site, we should note that this site is totally down gradient of the ditch. So on this site, there will be no runoff directed towards the ditch whatsoever, because it is totally down gradient of it.
Right, it's actually moved further from it.
Yes.
Are there any comments from the floor?
Just, yeah, the same thing. If he can put in, if they can put in those hard, like you said, that hard regulation that nothing's gonna be touched beyond. Can I suggest that for both lots, that's gonna maintain, that it's gonna be in there that, the next owners can't go in and alter anything on that land, even though it's theirs. I understand that. And when they went in zoning, that was the issue we had as well, that buffer zone would maintain, that wetland area would all be maintained for drainage and everything else, because it's not just the ditch that helps with the drainage, it's the wetlands and the trees and everything else, all the mature trees that are there. And that's, if all that can stay intact, no matter, who has the property.
And they would have to come to us with another set of plans, say, for example, if they wanted to
If
put a
some-
pool in their backyard.
Yeah, exactly.
So that they would have the opportunity to ask, but until they did that, they would be in violation if they did
Right.
something else in the back there.
Right, anybody cutting a tree down in that area would be in violation,
Yes.
touching anything back in that area.
Yeah, and I just, I think, the abutters should understand that's kind of standard operating procedure in here, that only thing that gets approved is the work shown on these plans. And that any additional work would have to come back to this commission for an additional filing. I know sometimes that gets lost, but,
Right.
that's the standard.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, in our order conditions, that there is a paragraph in there that states that
Yeah,
these are carried over and
yeah. It actually there's two paragraphs. One paragraph asks the landowner to file this with the registry, and I think we've been signing off on that paragraph. The older commission didn't, but I think we've been signing off on that, so that when if you ever look up a deed, there'll be a reference to it, to this order of conditions, and that's what Pat was talking about. And the other one says that this runs true to any successive owners, and in fact we actually say in it that you have to make known to the new owner the deed. If you ever closed, they show you these plans. That's actually what they're doing. They're making known to you of the plans on the land, right?
Yes, and in my experience, the title searches now is so in-depth that these always get picked up.
Yeah.
Because we get several calls from people who never get their certificates of compliance.
Yeah.
And
I
it
know.
goes
Well, we
to
do
show
too.
when they go to sell a house.
Yes, well, we do too. So that we get quite a few calls on that. Okay. So I'm going to bring it back, if I may, from the public, and ask are there any other comments? So again, we're going to do these orders at the end of this meeting, but do I have a motion to approve the plans for 806 Washington Street, DEP number 84-469. Do I have a motion to approve?
Make a motion, we approve the plans.
Thank you, Jerry. A second?
second.
All those in favour?
Aye.
Thank you.
And Dennis, I think we have to close the hearings.
Before we go on, okay. All right.
So we can close
You
both
wanna-
of them.
Yes.
I'll make a motion that we close the hearings for both 806 and 810 Washington Street.
Okay.
And really what will happen is, just for the audience, we'll discuss things amongst ourselves,
Well, actually, no, we're not going to discuss anything. The only thing we're going to do is the orders.
The orders,
Yeah.
we'll discuss the orders amongst ourselves.
And you've heard what the orders are, really. It really is, we're approving the plans. We actually do a form orders, but actually
Right.
everything we've talked about today.
But we're done.
Right.
We've approved them and we're done.
Yeah.
Just sorry, it's a little confusing.
Cool? No, that's right.
So
to
somebody
do
has
that.
to second me, right?
All right.
Second.
All those in favour?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll get that out as quick as possible. Thank you very much. Thank you so much, Harry. All right. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. McSharry. Thank you. Next item of business is a request for determination filed by Boston Gas for the installation of 265 feet of gas pipe within the pavement of Bedford Street and proposed driveway at 241 Bedford Street as a limited project within the 100-foot buffer zone to a bordering vegetated wetland. So this actually is going to, we're looking at an exception to our normal rules and regulations, right, in this. Is that what you think?
I
As a
think you
limited
said it was a
project?
limited project, so that's, we were thinking it invoked the limited project
Oh.
regs.
No, well, that would be for, if I was to file a notice of intent, but it's to say that it would qualify, I guess, if I filed a notice. So I'll back up and explain everything, and then we can talk about some of the
Sure.
specifics.
Let us introduce ourselves. My name is Dennis Bergen.
I'm Joe Feeney.
Kathy Creighton?
Jerry Kelhart.
Phil Stone.
My name is Andrea Kendall. I'm with Mason and Associates, and I'm a consultant for National Grid, same as Boston Gas Company. The project before the commission tonight is a request for determination of applicability for the installation, as Dennis mentioned, for the installation of 265 feet, give or take, of a gas line within Bedford Street and up the driveway to service the to-be-built single-family house. From what I understand, there is an order of conditions for number 241 Bedford Street, and the purpose of the project is to service that eventual house. There is an existing 4-inch gas line within Bedford Street, and it ends right here. So Boston Gas Company is proposing to extend about 40 feet of gas line, and then a 4-inch gas line, and then a 2-inch feeder line within the proposed footprint of the driveway. There is a buffer, a bordering vegetated wetland nearby. That work is within the 100-foot buffer zone. And I do have the house plans, but essentially the orientation and configuration will fall within the driveway. So as it's shown here, it's approximate. We are proposing to put erosion controls in if at the time of construction there are none existing, because personally I don't know what the timing of when they're gonna. I imagine that the gas line will go in once their house construction starts. So there could already be erosion controls in. The gas pipe is buried about 3 feet below the surface. It's a narrow trench, about a foot or so. And once the gas line and appropriate backfill is put in, it's restored to pre-existing conditions. So what I'm seeking tonight is a negative determination of applicability for this work, so that additional filing of a notice of intent would not be required.
So to be clear, the limited project meant the size of the project rather than because it is not going through a wetland at this point, correct? Did I miss something?
Right, no, it's not going through a wetland at all. It's all within the buffer zone. But for example, if utility projects often can fall within a limited project status just for virtue, whether it's in a buffer zone or a wetland, you're right, could be considered a limited project. But it's more just, I add that piece of information as you know, just to understand the scope of the project. Yeah. Did I miss anything? Anybody have any questions? Typically, they install about 100 linear feet per day, so the project should take from start to finish 3 to 5 days once they get going.
What type of work area do you need along the line? Is it about 20 feet or is it?
It's what they do with their little bucket. They'll cast off, put it aside, put the piping in, and then backfill. So it all depends what has been cleared. They're not going to do the initial tree clearing and whatnot. They're going to be called in after their driveway is put in. So whatever limit of work has been established, they'll be within the limit of work of the proposed construction for the house.
Do we have the filing for this house
I have
handy?
Yeah.
I just want to see the plan.
I have it.
Oh, you have one? Okay, that would be really helpful, I think, for us. We're a new commission, so that we didn't see the original filing. Maybe Dennis did, but the rest of us didn't.
I don't think so,
I
yeah.
think it was before.
It was before Dennis, too?
So I believe what I highlighted in yellow is, oh no, that's not true. That's an existing easement. This is the proposed driveway that's been approved. And their wetland line is this. And their erosion controls are adjacent to the wetland line.
This is the house that exists.
237.
This is really, and it's 0 to 50 feet. Does this one have a scale on it?
No.
1, 2,
Rusted.
1, that's a 10-foot scale.
Yep, there you go. 1 inch to 10 feet.
Oh, well, you better measure it, you're better at that. I went to class with you, I know you're better at that. I'm just curious how far in it is on that plan, just are we matching up?
I did scale to the extent.
You
that
want
I-
to scale out? Yeah,
Here's,
yeah.
here to here. From, you know,
Yeah, yeah.
maybe take the corner of the house to there, so you can figure it out on there. And then you can go up there.
In the screen room. Would
Oh,
that
there's
count?
the screen. I don't see
This
it.
scale is 50 scale.
Do you see this?
Well,
This is going to be close.
this is about 50 feet. I'm running. From that corner, probably 45.
Say 7 1/4.
Yeah.
70.
You got 70
70.
feet from the corner of the house to, doesn't look right, does it?
75.
It's
This
different.
This looks off. It looks like the driveway is closer to your house than it's showing on that plan. I think
This
you
is
might
not
have,
the driveway.
no, that's where you're gonna put the gas line.
It's gonna be within the footprint.
Will it be in the driveway?
From what I understand, it would be in the driveway.
15-foot driveway.
It's just I'm having trouble because it looks like the gas line is, like this line isn't matching up with your line at all, that's all. As much.
It's-
But maybe it's just my perspective. Am I-
So if you measure, say, that corner, you know, and again, this isn't, I'm scaling back and forth to put this on. This is just meant for an approximation. It's not a surveyed plan at all, but it's just to show the intent.
Yeah, this is just a utility really, put in down pipes.
Yeah.
Can I, does anybody have any other comment before I put it to the floor? So I think we have somebody from the floor.
I'm
Yeah.
Kathleen Jones, 237 Bedford Street. I am the abutter. I'm glad I have a paper that you guys would have read.
So the driveway is 20 feet.
The proposed driveway, it might not necessarily be the as-built driveway, because there is a guardrail that may not be taken down to allow for that. So that pipe may be closer to me. There's also a water pipes in the ground there.
Right.
And the sewage has already been installed.
Right, and so.
The house has been built, the
Okay.
appliances were delivered. But however, there's an easement that goes to Colburn Lane,
Mhm.
which would not affect Route 18 at all, open up Route 18, and I was wondering if that was addressed at all. If the
That's a
easement,
good
they have an
distance.
easement that goes right to Colburn Lane, which is
So that's
less
right, 20 feet.
feet to run
From
a
the
pipe.
scale,
And I was
right.
wondering if that had been approached, to instead of going from Route 18 in front of my house, creating a disruption in the road, because that is pretty new pavement. I was wondering if that had been addressed, because I do own an easement to Colburn Lane, this lot.
I don't have that exact where
Colburn Lane runs right behind here.
typically, and I could find out, you know, what, when they decide what orientation and route to go is in their mind, what is, they probably take into consideration future demand, you know, if this is maybe easier for them to just go up 40 feet and then do a beeline into their property, in anticipation of continuing down in the future when demand,
We're at the end, of that, it meets, we're at the end of coming down Route 18 and going up Route 18, so that is the end of it. Wouldn't have to
well,
continue.
there could be future demand to continue down Bedford Street in the future, you know, and I can't address that,
Okay.
but,
It's really, I mean, poor Ms. Kendall is actually briefed for the conservation part of it. Did they have to go before planning or zoning or something like that for
no,
that?
they would get coordinate with the town, whether it's, you know, a road opening permit. You
Yeah.
know, that's not handled by my company. They do that, or the contractor would do that specifically. And as I said, you know, this is approximate. And this will be adjusted to, and take into consideration where the other utilities are located. You know, they have to be a certain distance away from, say,
From water.
water.
Yeah.
So once they know exactly where everything is, they'll determine whether it needs to go to the right or to the left of
Yeah,
that
because
water
there are a
line.
whole lot of regulations
I do
involved
that.
in this.
And they have to have a gravel driveway because they're like, I wouldn't say 5 to 10 feet from the water, not wetlands, but water. So, does the length of this pipe affect the homes next to it because it's so long? I mean, this whole project is, the whole length of this project is my next to my property, and very close, not, does that have any effect on that?
Not that I'm aware of. I mean, I've permitted projects where individual feeder lines go for longer distance. That's not as far as I understand.
Because it won't be a paved driveway, it cannot be a paved driveway, it's a pervious surface.
Okay.
Which is in the plan that it has to be.
Okay, then,
Because
and
it's
that
so
is
wet.
also fine.
All right.
Yeah, they'll
Just
restore it to
13 feet
whatever.
across the driveway, so
Stand
we're
that.
on
Yeah, it's buried
Which
3 feet
is
below
what
the
the gas is at,
surface,
close then.
to account for
Yeah, they're gonna hit the
frost
water table when
and,
they put in the gas
Yeah.
line.
and cars
That's-
driving
that's-
over it.
that's-
Too close to our 10-foot.
And it's close to a 10-foot, so. Is there a problem with it being installed in water, the gas line?
It's water.
You mean in the
Groundwater.
Groundwater, because you will hit groundwater pretty quickly there.
The sewer department did just hit water because they tied into our.
And I really don't know the answer.
And I don't know the answer to that. I mean, they, I'm sure they encounter areas where there is high groundwater and they accommodate that. I'm sure they'll take that into consideration, and if they find that they are not able to, then they would address that as well.
Yeah, I think Joe just finished measuring this off, and I think what we think is that the line's probably gonna hit within 10 feet of the
The
wetland.
corner
So
of the
it's within
driveway,
our
so.
10-foot zone of, we usually try to keep 10 feet.
It's gonna be edge of wetland here, and the edge of the driveway is gonna be,
Well, this is an approved plan. I just
Correct.
want to say, and if you want to make a condition within the negative order of conditions that the footprint of the gas line needs to be a minimum of 10 feet away from the wetland, then that's perfectly fine, either within the footprint or at least 10 feet away from the wetland.
Then we have any other comments? Okay.
I guess I-
Oh, yeah,
This
sure.
plan was appealed to the Lakeville Department of Environmental Protection.
Oh, right, the
Appealed.
DEP did.
Yes, and they did come back, and there are superseding order of conditions that go along with this plan also. Just, I don't know if you have copies of them, I didn't bring them, I didn't know, just so that you know that did happen.
That sounds like the DEP's actually, that's for the house site.
Thank you for that. Yeah, so DEP actually approved the order of conditions. So I think what we have to decide is whether this is just an RDA or whether it's an amended order of conditions. So
Well-
that's really, I mean, I don't know. I think I'm inclined to go with the RDA, but that's the two choices we have.
That sounds good, Kathy, to go with the RDA. Does anybody have any other comments? So, a negative determination would be that they would have to do a notice of intent. This is a utility. A positive determination, a positive determination would be that they have to do, I always get it wrong, that they have to do a notice of intent. A negative determination would be that they don't, that it actually stops here. But like Ms. Kendall said, we can always put within, as we have done with RDs, some requirements such as that any work or the footprint of the pipe should be 10 feet or more away from the wetlands. Does that sound right? What kind of wording would you think is a good wording, would you suggest?
I think as you mentioned is perfectly fine.
So I'm gonna.
Either within the, well, it looks like the footprint of the driveway, the driveway is set back 10 feet. So,
It's about 13, 14 feet to the edge of the driveway, so, I mean, it's, and, you know, my only other concern would be is you really don't, I mean, if we say 10 feet back, you don't want them digging on the 10-foot line.
Well, that's it. I mean, that's why.
Mhm.
Is that possible to do that? Is it
you
possible
could
to
say
zone
with,
requirement?
either within the footprint of the driveway or,
15 feet away from the wetland, maybe if we give them 15, that would be enough to give them some work zone, because it sounds like all you got is a little bucket truck going
Yeah.
over there.
The skinny little tobacco.
yes,
So you want to do 15 feet?
or within, I would advocate, either within the footprint of the driveway or 15 feet away from the wetland.
As long as the driveway's not within 10 feet of them, it should be.
That's right.
It'll be within 10 feet of the buffer zone.
Okay.
And the other order that we should add is that
Yep.
we're gonna be required to have, hay bale or silt fence installed.
Right.
And,
That's just-
yeah, but they're gonna be required, this is the actual house lot.
Yep.
This isn't hers. They may do this at a different time, and I just wanna make sure that they're there. And, the Conservation Commission will be notified, within 48 hours prior to start of work. Because I think I'm getting tired of seeing
Thank you.
this happen.
All right. Are we all set?
They
Have you
will
got
put
some
more, they
questions?
will put more hay bales up because the hay bales that are there are pretty much gone.
Yeah, and to be honest, I haven't been out to the site to know the status, I'll just take it off the area when I know it's dated. So if it's already constructed, National Grid is used to putting up their own erosion controls, for sure.
If you see some of the hail bills and they're destroyed and they're not right up, just give the town hall a call.
Well, I
Speak with
wasn't-
Nancy and
I
then, 'cause
wasn't sure if you were the board to call or if I had to go down and call the Lakeville people. I didn't understand what the premise
that would be a
is
good
after
one.
you've
Well,
done the appeal and you've done
If
the
it-
city order conditions.
It probably, if there's a superseding
Right.
order, then it's
There are.
DEP in
There's
Lakeville.
probably like 9 or
Yeah.
10 superseding orders.
So, oh, sorry.
Conditions, I'm sorry.
Oh, we
Right.
missed that one.
Oh.
Okay. Well, there's
So they would-
the letter that you got with the superseding order. It's probably Mr. Keller, KELLER, but whoever it is, his phone number. He'd be the person that you
If they
chat
put the
to.
ones up, that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, those hay bales should be maintained all the time too, so. Like I
Until
said,
they-
if they're destroyed, you should call them up and say, can you please come down and check out my site, make sure that they're doing the right thing.
Until they finish the work and get a certificate of compliance, they're supposed to stay up. But usually, when the work's finished, you're not.
Well, it's
And-
gonna-
and
a
it's
lot of
all
construction there, so
stabilized.
Things are moving around, so.
Yeah.
It makes it hard to probably keep them up.
Well, thank you for coming tonight. Thank you for telling us. And
I
thank you,
think we
Ms.
have to take a
Kendall.
vote.
Yes, we do. So, is there any other comment, any more questions from Ms. Kendall? No? Okay. So, do we have a motion to approve, to give a negative determination of the request for determination?
I'll make that motion with the conditions that we just outlined.
You have 3
Yes.
conditions, okay?
Yes.
15 feet, the required hail bales and silt fence, and that the Conservation Commission be notified within 48 hours of any work. Okay, Kathy's done the motion. Do I have a second? Thank you, Russ. All those in favour?
All right,
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving quickly along, we have 123 Centre Street. That's notice of intent 84-470. So who have we got for that? Mr. LaPointe, right? So does anyone want to come up or you want to stay there? It doesn't matter. Now this is where we we have a plan, a notice of intent plan, and actually one of the reasons I asked for that was that we had something to give the DEP. But actually, to be honest, you've moved very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
You've dealt with the asbestos in the area.
Yes.
And that was through DEP. And then you quickly did all the requirements in the emergency certificate that the building inspector, listed and that we listed. The work was done, DP did contact us, but really you stopped everything for this meeting.
Sure.
Now the building's demolished, right?
Yes.
I saw the hay bales myself there,
Right.
all set. So really we're just looking at this. We're approving the notice of intent of work that was actually done already under an emergency.
Yeah.
Does that anybody have any
Except
comments?
that they were outside the period of the emergency, correct?
Well, actually, I think that the thing was the asbestos was found in the building, just a little bit of asbestos in the roof, and the building inspector explained to me that actually took some time to actually deal with that, and they actually had to do a separate plan for that with the DEP, and that's what they weren't actually allowed by anybody to come in until that was remedied. And that was probably done. But actually they did do other things. We didn't ask for them to move tyres. And when I went back there, do you remember all the tyres that were there? Holy smoke. So actually, although it wasn't in our emergency order, we actually did ask to move and so I think you did that while you were waiting for DP to
That's
sign
right.
off on the asbestos.
There's a few more tires still there now, just came out of the building, which were underneath it, but
right.
we'll dispose of those.
Right.
So is the work completed at this point of the
No.
demolition? You're still have more demolition to do?
Most of the demolition is down, it's basically cleanup.
Yeah, and so I did drive by on Saturday after we walked 806 and 810, and I did notice that there was a lot of storage of stuff that was still in the wetlands. I know you had put up your hay bales, but I did notice there was a bunch of storage still there, and still some of the structure was up.
Yep.
So your intent is to take down the rest of the structure? Whatever's, you haven't taken everything down yet?
No, everything near the river is down.
Okay.
There's another wall up on the building near Spencer's Pizza. We have to support first before we take it down.
Okay, yeah, there was a support wall still up by the
Yep.
river, that one's come down?
Yeah.
And I guess my question is there anything else planned besides taking just taking the demolition, doing the demolition, taking the work?
Just
taking the stuff?
grading
Just
it off. Grading it off.
You're just gonna level it the
Mhm.
way, just clean it up,
Mhm.
get everything off?
Are there any other questions or comments?
Actually, probably the owner. Do you still have I know there was something that the Board of Health had. Is there still a well there for testing for something that happened like?
It's still there.
So
Yeah,
that's
that
still
was,
gonna
that was
stay
in
there?
front of the building that was
Okay.
torn down. That's a good distance in front. I
So
don't
that's
think
still
Monitoring
that's
wells
still
is still there.
Okay, they're gonna stay there. They'll stay active and all that kind of good stuff. Okay.
Yeah, I think he was there monitoring it today, actually.
And it was a gasoline spill, or?
I don't know what they were from. I think they were underground tanks that were buried there years before I was involved. I'm just a representative for the family today.
Okay.
They were on vacation, but I believe they were underground gas tanks, yes.
And I think that, correct me if I'm wrong, did we ask for those reports too? If they
Yeah, we did.
progressively get them,
We did,
we can get copies of those
I can
reports too.
yeah.
Those are reasons, I can get
That
those.
would be
Sure.
helpful for us, so we
Just
understand.
forward them to the Abington Board of
Conservation.
Conservation, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, that would be helpful.
What are these reports? Just to
The reports for what they find in the test wells when they go back periodically, so they give levels of whatever's in the ground.
okay.
And because we're right next to a pretty
Active
sensitive
river.
wetland, I think it's important. And I guess are you gonna stabilize the ground, or are you planning on doing something soon, so you don't wanna stabilize? Are you gonna throw grass down? What are you gonna do?
It was basically just gravel. Just clean it up and make it,
My concern is that we're right next to the river, so I just don't want anything rolling into the river, so that's why I'm asking about
if you want us to
stabilization.
grass it, we can grass it.
If it is not hard, I would suggest if you're not gonna use it for a while, that might be the right thing to do, because
That's fine.
vegetation will keep it,
Sure.
you won't have dust or anything going. And does everybody agree with me, or?
Yeah, anything come down off that hill, when you come into the parking lot, we'll come down and
It'll
head
slow.
right for the river.
Yeah, and that way, and we won't have dirt going into the river, which I think would be great.
They talked about maybe repaving in front of those other buildings, in front of Spencer's, after the project's done. Clean it up.
I think the repaving would be fine. If you're gonna start to go encroach in the area that we're talking about, then
Mhm.
we'd probably wanna see
I don't think there'd be any plan to do that. It'd just be paved, surface pavement.
Just
Probably
pave-
just,
pave-
it's
repave
more
and
static.
West
It's in rough condition for the people that are driving in and
Oh,
out.
sure.
But behind there, we'll plant grass and leave it like.
The same
We'll
thing
leave
too,
it as
if
is.
they did a Cape Cod berm or something,
Yeah, just keep the water from going down,
yeah,
sure.
then it would come right back.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think it was an excellent project that everybody moved very quickly for the emergency, and it has worked out
Yeah, cleaned
very,
up the
very
area.
well.
Really cleaned it up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just like you said, I drove by there on Saturday and got out, stuck my nose out there and popped my head across the river, and everything was clean.
Yeah, we made sure.
The hay bale was everything was back in this way, there was nothing floating down the river or anything else like that.
No,
So
there was
That was
no-
the big concern, was the river.
Yeah.
It's so close to it,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
it hazardous.
It looked real good,
Right.
so.
Yeah, and if you could just avoid storing things right by the hay bales, that would be helpful as well.
Sure.
That would probably be my only comment about the website.
So, do I have a motion to approve the notice of intent for the plans as presented?
Motion to approve?
Joe? Russ? Thank you. All those in favour?
Aye.
And I think we'll make, so we're all set, everything's
Sure.
okay now, but I think we'll make move on and do the orders of condition for here, which are just simply the ordinary orders of condition we're going to have for notice of intent, right? Do we have?
And we have to close the hearing?
Yes, okay,
Sorry, it's such a pain.
sure,
So many
okay.
rules.
Well, it's just the way this works, because otherwise the hearing stays open
Right.
and we didn't have,
Right,
we're legally not able to
Okay.
move on.
to move on. Well, actually, we were going to finish with the orders, just very quickly. Do we want to do that? Do we have
Yeah, I
draft
have
orders?
copies.
Yeah,
So let's quickly do that, and then we'll close the meeting.
we actually, well, I don't know.
You want to finish
Dennis,
the meeting
normally,
first?
I don't mean to be, but normally
That's
we've
okay.
always closed the hearing, when I used to be on it, we closed the
Oh,
hearing
excellent,
first.
okay.
So
do I have a-
that's why I'm being, perhaps I'm out of order. in
No
your
problem
head.
with that at all. Do we have a motion?
You're the lawyer, not me, so.
Wow, that doesn't mean anything. Do we have a motion then to close the
I make
meeting?
that motion.
Okay. All those in favour?
And
Sorry,
second.
second, Russ. All those in favour?
Aye.
Excellent. So
All
we're all
set?
set, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you
Thank
for
you, sir.
coming.
No.
No, Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So quickly going to do the orders of condition for 123 Centre Street. Is that right? And for once you actually have copies, right? Does everybody have one? So for,
Do we need more?
This is the orders and conditions that we add to all the, so it's just Nancy holds them on.
who
onto
needs,
them.
does anybody need more?
No, we're good.
No?
Okay.
Thank you, Nancy.
Erosion and sedimentation controls. They've actually done this, but
But I still think we should add it, and it's also the
Yeah.
intent that we keep it, because they're not done work.
Yeah.
So A1 and A2.
How many feet?
Oh, just take a limit of, just say on the limit of work.
well, that
Or on
is,
the wetland edge, because it's right along the wetland edge right
Right.
now.
yeah.
Because they had to work within our normal 10-foot buffer. So place a limit of work on the wetland edge, and just take out the rest of it. A3? A4?
Yeah, definitely A4.
Yeah. A5, I don't know that it's really applicable because they're not digging. Do we need to add it? No.
You know,
And A6?
All right, and then for drainage,
So not 5?
Not 5.
so, I mean, I think you do have to do runoff. I'm too sure about this, to be honest, the ear storms, but I think B1 is part of it. B2 is drainage and flow patterns. That it's a river, but that would be right.
I'd say B6.
Well, there's no catch basins, Is there?
I don't know, that's what I was gonna ask.
I don't think there is, because the river's right there. So I don't think there is a catch basin. I didn't notice.
But
on
we
the
did
plans.
ask for, we did say if they are gonna pave that lot, if they put a Cape Cod berm where the building used to be, that would,
Right.
that would take any of the surface runoff from the parking lot, and trying not to direct it straight at the river.
At the river? Okay.
I would say B7, but not B8.
What did I say, B5 or B6?
B6.
B6.
I'm not too sure if I totally agree
I
with
don't think you
the-
need the flood control.
I'm not too sure if I actually agree with B6 because, like I said, I think that it's not an issue with the catch basins. You know, but if you think, what do you think, Jerry? Is a berm necessary to be installed in the parking
For
lot?
that catch basin you were talking
Yeah,
about?
I mean there is no catch basin as such, but I suppose we're talking about outside of the pizza place.
Do you remember seeing the catch basin there in the middle of that parking lot?
Where?
Right where Spencer's is?
No, I don't.
I'm not sure if I remember you guys seeing one there. I'm not sure if they have one there or not.
I don't remember
I
either.
don't, they might, but they might not. I don't know.
It feels like that they should,
Right.
which is why I think you're thinking that, because you would think that they would have.
Okay,
That's
flood
interesting.
control isn't really an issue as such. Oh, we've got a river.
So it's in or out?
It's out. Is that right? Is that out?
Mhm.
Did I say that right?
Yeah,
Surface and groundwater.
I don't think it applies. There's no wetland application. So-
Well, actually, D4.
T4 would be
D4 applies.
rock salt, rather de-icing chemicals.
So we're gonna implement that only for the new, yeah, that's actually a good idea. Because that water source goes direct,
Yeah.
basically going to Myers Wellfield. So eventually we're drinking that water.
Okay, they're not doing any replication, so that's not an issue. There may well be wildlife in this area, but
I saw some.
did you?
There was a little splash. There was a little splash in the river there. A little fish.
Oh, really? Yeah.
All the wildlife is now out of the building.
That's what I was thinking of. I was thinking of some other
He ran
wildlife.
I don't
fast
think-
right away.
I don't think these conditions under F apply though.
No.
I think G, G1, G2, G3, G4,
I think they all apply.
yeah. Yeah, they all apply, Nancy.
And then administrative conditions. It's really to do with building of houses here, so I don't think that they actually apply.
H2 does. Right, because that's just about the successor.
Yeah.
Well, that's what poor Mr. Lynch was talking about. And yeah, sure.
H4. And H5. H6.
You're going to ask them for a certificate of compliance.
They have a notice of intent, they have to have a certificate of compliance.
Okay?
So, well, it's just, I guess, there's nothing for them to put on it except that the
Are you
property's done. Do you think maybe we
going
should
to-
just ask for a letter?
Are you going to waive the requirement for the registered professional engineer?
I'd say yes.
Yeah, there was no engineer. There was an engineer originally here, and to do with the project, and I think he did something with the asbestos. But other than that, I don't think there was any engineer involved in the later work on this emergency case. So I would suggest that we waive the written statement by registered professional engineer certifying compliance. That is waived.
I do think we want a letter stating the work is completed as stated in the notice of intent and what has changed, if anything's there.
And I'd also like to see any of the reports too for
The asbestos?
asbestos. Also, if they have them for the removal and disposal of, where the stuff went to, as long as,
Do you want to, are you looking for where they disposed it, or are you looking?
well,
So-
they should have that, actually, anything leaving on site should have a ticket that goes along with it to where it gets disposed of, and make sure that they properly
I agree.
dispose of that, to make sure that we're not taking it and dumping it someplace it's not supposed to be.
So what we really want is, here is a letter that shows how the completed set of plan, how the site is, whether the site complies with the notice of intent, and if the site, if any of the work differed from what was shown in the notice of intent. And also, we want a copy of the asbestos removal reports, and also documentation of where the materials, the demolition materials were disposed or recycled. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay, so what of H6 itself,
No,
though?
I don't think you need any of it.
None of
it?
it?
No.
No, just what I said.
The-
We
Well,
made an
okay,
She,
so
was,
what-
she actually was talking about
Not what's printed.
And
she's talking about H5. Okay, and so she's saying that, you know, they do need to have a certificate of compliance, but the last sentence there, a written statement by a registered professional, we'll score that out. And I've taken down what she said, and I'll put it in a letter and in the, give you the wording.
Okay.
We can actually put that as the additional, you know, the additional requirements that we have. Okay. H7 just says that everything has to be continue even after a certificate of compliance is done. So I suppose if you're doing the others, you would do H7.
Mm-hmm.
except H7 talks about detention basins in section B, and I think I just take B out, Nancy, and only show A and C.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine that this wording is, because it really is stock wording, is much like a will where things are missing in a will, but it's still, the will is still good. And it's the same here. If something doesn't apply, it doesn't apply.
Right.
You know, because this all goes back to the notice of intent. All right.
H8 and H9.
And then the work schedule and sequence of events. That just literally lays out the steps that they take. Insofar as it applies to what was done, I suppose it applies. Except that actually, are we registering this with the Registry of Deeds? We can certainly do that.
Yes, I think they need to do that anyway.
Okay. Okay, so I1 through 1 and 2. Okay, and Joe, there on D, it says 48 hours in advance
Mm-hmm.
on construction.
Do you want all of 2 or just
I don't think you need all of 2.
No.
Just A.
A, and what else did
A,
you say?
E,
D?
A and E.
D.
Well, E did, sorry, kind of E's kind of passed by,
Oh, yeah, 'cause it's-
and D is passed by.
And then in special conditions, it doesn't hurt to write this out again. In special conditions, we'll write that you want the reports for the asbestos, the documentation of the removal of the materials from the demolition, the reports of the test sites, and whether it was compliance with the notice of intent. And we'll go to certificate of compliance. So with those orders, are we okay with that? All right. Can we move on to the orders for 806
Can I
Washington
ask a
Street?
question?
Yeah.
Did we get a DEP number for this one?
Yes, we did.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. Sorry.
Yeah, it was
Didn't we
on the
read it out?
agenda,
Yeah.
Didn't we read it
the
out?
number.
Oh, good.
84-470.
Just want to make
Because
sure.
we actually can't do one without, I think we can't do one
Right.
without a DP number. So the first one, 806, these were the house lots that they're putting in.
I'm thinking that we can we do 806 and 810 at the same time? I think that might be, because they're gonna be exactly
Yeah,
the same,
they're
right?
comparable properties.
Yeah, okay, good.
Well, let's, because Nancy's, what's the easiest way for you to do this?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably gonna be the same for
Yeah,
both,
so
so,
you're okay?
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, so let's do that. So 806,
A1, Nancy, as far as how far from the wetlands edge, I think you want to say instead that shall be placed on a limit of work line as shown in the plans as submitted. Because where he has his limit of work is in some cases greater than 10 feet, but that's where they're going to work.
well, I would leave the wording and just say 10 feet.
No, his limit of work is quite a distance in some places, Dennis. So I'd
Yeah,
rather.
that's good, that's okay. I mean, he
So
doesn't
I'm
have to.
saying that he's gonna put his hay bales along the limit of work.
All right,
That's all, that's shown on the plans.
as shown.
Mm-hmm.
That gets some more protection.
Right.
Okay,
And I'm afraid they're gonna put hay bales in at 10 feet and take down stuff to do
Yeah.
that. So,
all right, A2 would be right. A3, if there's any soils. A4. And there are no dewatering activities expected.
well, sometimes when they dig a hole, they sometimes decide they hit water and they have to dewater.
Yeah.
So that I think you're just better leaving it in. If it doesn't apply, it doesn't
Mhm.
apply.
Okay, A5 and A6
Mm-hmm.
are in agreement. So say 1 through 6. Drainage and runoff. So the flooding, the storms, the drainage and flow pattern shall not be altered.
Right, well, that's,
Mhm.
yeah, B2 definitely.
Mhm.
There is no retention pond, right? That was our
Mhm.
discussion.
I think just B7, right? And,
Okay.
B8, because there is a catch basin at the bottom of the hill on the street there, so that would.
So just 7 and 8?
7 and 8, and, well, 1 and 2, Dennis already outlined.
Mm-hmm.
B1, B2, B7, B8. Okay. Flood control. Don't think it's in an area of flood.
Mhm.
Surface and groundwater. So I think that there is groundwater here, but
I think it's, do we,
I
don't know
can't
that
see that any of
D4
these
should
apply actually.
I don't
Pardon?
think D4 applies with the rock salt. 'cause
Okay.
They're downstream of the wetland, so it's not.
So none of D applies, do you think?
No.
No,
E, which is replication plans.
no.
F, which is wildlife.
They have a lot of bugs,
Yeah, they got a lot of bugs.
a lot of mosquitoes.
G, which is on-site conditions. So that would really, it's always good to put these down. G1
Yeah.
through G7.
Mhm. And how far do we want the material stockpiled from the wetlands? Want to say 50 feet?
How much?
50?
50 feet. Is that realistic?
Yes,
That's what they used
Yeah,
to
I think
put.
so.
because they
You know what they
can,
used to put?
Yeah.
I want them to be inside the limit of work was
Right.
what I was worrying about.
it's 51.9 feet to the edge, the corner of the house.
Mhm.
So you might have to go 45.
You want to go 40? Give them enough room.
Yeah.
Okay, 40, Nancy.
So here the administrative conditions may actually apply because we are dealing with house lots. So H1, which says that
It's
any-
not a subdivision though.
oh, that's right. H2, which is that it carries on.
Mm-hmm.
That was Mr. Lynch's point. H4, which includes all the construction documents. H5, which is the certificate of compliance. And here we do have an engineer working on this, and so you would include that. H6. H7, which says that these are ongoing conditions. H8, which says the sale of any land, the next person will know what's happening. And H9, which is the condition number, it's just DP numbers. And the work schedule, I1. I2, they probably put this with the registry anyway. 2A. So do you want a timetable, Joe?
Yes.
B,
I want C.
C, D, there's the 48 hours.
Yep. E.
E,
F.
F, yeah, because it's within the buffer zone, they're literally building the house. And there's no replication plan.
No.
And they are doing a road, right? But there's no detention.
There's no detention basin.
No,
or-
so I suppose this doesn't apply. I'm just looking back at my notes. Was there any particular things that you wanted? I don't think there were. I think we were all set.
The walls not touched.
I think that the well is
Oh.
untouched and noted on the.
The well
plans.
should be noted on the
on the
plans. Well should be noted on the plans.
They actually couldn't touch the well because it's in the wetlands itself, though, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Yeah, but I still want to, I want to say that because I
Exactly,
just don't
yeah.
want to find it, I mean, I
Yeah.
just don't want them messing with it.
Well, the significance of that was that there is water there. That's the whole reason. So it was a rather odd thing to leave out of your plan. It's the difference between a ditch and your intermittent stream, Kathy. Okay. And now we're going to, have we done the gas one?
No, not yet.
Okay. So very quickly, the gas one. Looking,
No, the
this
gas one is a.
the request for determination. We gave negative determination, right? But you did want wording on with that. Are you all set on the wording with that?
I think so.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I just have to find the form.
Nancy, should we give you, why don't we give Nancy back this? so we forget?
Well, she's got a lot of papers at the moment.
Yeah, well, we don't want to make her
Let's
keep
leave it
having to
here.
reproduce those.
Yeah. So she's gonna.
I think this is the only thing for correspondence.
Okay.
And,
Do you want me to give the things for him to sign?
yeah, I
This is all.
had a determination form. I probably left
You know,
it.
I have one. I have one.
You have one?
Yeah, I have one. Sorry.
Oh, I got it.
Okay, because I've one right here.
Yeah.
You got one?
Yeah.
I've actually copied them on the backs. So,
Okay.
so the first thing we're passing over is the determination. Request for determination.
Well, this is short. You don't have it in your book.
We're too busy.
The next thing we're passing over is 806 Washington Street.
Just sign on the first page, Nancy.
Yeah. You know, the last meeting I had all copies for everybody of all the forms and all. It just took too much paper and too much hassle. Next one we're doing is 810 Washington Street. And the last one.
And when I get them back, if you could just check off,
Yes.
the,
I'll do that tonight. Is that okay?
oh, okay, that's fine, yeah,
I'll
because I
do it
won't,
tonight.
I won't even be in tomorrow, I'll be in Thursday, so.
We've got
whenever
plenty
you
of
want to
time.
drop them off.
Excellent. Well, I will do it. I'll do for each one of them tonight or tomorrow morning. Maybe.
Okay.
And the last one is 4123 Centre
Legally,
Street.
yeah, for Joseph, I presume.
So we have a request for some certificate of compliance. CCL Abington Realty Trust, Groveland Street.
That is the only thing that we've got right now?
Also, we have nothing scheduled. It's kind of nice.
All right. So
The meeting would be the 13th, the next one.
the 13th of August. Let me just write out who these people are. It's David Kelly, right? Groveland Street. Now he only gave, did he give a whole lot of plans? Yeah, he did.
Thank you.
How many plans did he give? He just gave two. Two as-built is all he has to do. So, will we keep him at your office? What should we do? What's the best way for everybody to see him?
What is it?
Really,
These
what
are
we
the
want to see
as-built.
is the old, you know, what we approved, or not what we approved, but what was approved
Yep.
versus what.
And he has, actually here he attached the order of conditions. So maybe we leave this to your office, and if we have time before August 13th, you'll drop by. Is anybody available to go and have a look at these?
What is
At
it?
this place? It's Groveland Street. 223, 225, 275 Groveland Street.
Is it Cape Breton, right?
Yep.
Huh? In this garage.
And this is a big place, isn't it?
Yeah.
I pass it every day. Well, we pass it every day, right, for Connor and Max.
Yeah.
So this is something that actually we weren't involved at all. It was the old commission
Right.
did it.
Right.
But I actually was on it for a little bit when it was on, and it seemed really very. It was a land that we lost, Porecki. We actually lost that open space, but the site itself was done really, really well. And in fact, the owner gave land over to the town, didn't he? He gave that land over to help the dump with their requirements.
Was it- Was it that one? Yeah, that's right, that's
They
right,
negotiated.
yeah.
He gave over all this part here, I think.
Yeah, I think it had,
Yeah.
our municipal landfill had kind of extended over to it.
Yeah, it was
So
kind
that
of
they needed to
Purchase
combine
it.
it. They needed, somehow.
I think he gave it to them, so yeah, it was very generous of him. But that's what they so the site itself is supposed to be done well.
So what our defined responsibility on this now is to do is what?
Certificate of compliance. So you're supposed to have an engineer's letter saying that everything went well with the orders condition. The orders condition are attached, and we should go. Some of us should go and have a look at the site. So I'll certainly try and go.
I've
and
been
look
up there
at
many
the
times
site.
by Logan, but yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know.
Try to take a look. So the wetlands line.
I'm not
up
too sure
here-
what the concerns were, but there are wetlands right around it. I mean, this is
So
so.
the property line, sorry, Dennis, just, the wetlands line is here, over towards the, is there one over there too?
Where is Groveland?
Yes,
Right
there
here?
is.
Groveland's right
Okay,
here, so this is
yeah,
the
This is dump.
this is the dump over
Okay,
here.
gotcha, yeah.
So
Yeah,
that,
It's the right and
bought
the
the
left.
land so next to Harvey, so to protect Harvey because of the problem with the dump.
so that,
So they, nobody could sue the town, so everything's bought out.
right, so the wetlands line Where's the property line here is where?
Probably goes from here to the,
Oh, so that we don't have the whole property on this
Correct.
one, that's all then, okay, so
Yeah.
it's all on your property where the wetlands line is.
And where Jerry is, right where Jerry is all wetlands too. Yep.
And this looks like it's a drainage structure,
yes.
so you'll know, you're near it if it follows along with it.
Yep, that was all built and they had a blast too. This is all ledge. Well, actually, all through here.
Wow.
It was all ledge.
And what's up here?
There's another drainage structure.
This,
Yeah, back
this,
away.
they're here.
Yeah, there's actually, I think they built a
Wow.
bridge across too.
Because that's really, I think those are the things that we wanna
Oh,
probably go look at.
that's impressive. I was there.
Yeah.
I never building, I drove through.
Didn't this board get the
Yeah.
amended notice?
Yeah, no, I
Seven,
think
8
that's,
million this time.
No,
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
after,
Huge building.
after,
did we get an amended notice for
yeah.
this? We did.
Yep. Oh, did we get
Mr.
this?
Don't you remember Mr. Dombrowski?
I didn't think we got it.
I
I
don't
mean, I
think
don't
we
think
got
they
it.
were here. Were they here? I don't think they were here.
I think so, because he let us know that an amended order, which we weren't aware of, had to be re-advertised and the abutters notified. Do you remember that?
Oh, okay, okay. I thought you weren't here. There was an amended order of conditions, but they were literally making it smaller. Actually, they were, and also they were. There was an issue with the water. I think it was. They were coming instead of doing a very expensive pipe across the land. They were actually coming through the street after all, and they were making the building smaller. So they did do amended order. And that's right. Was that when we were looking after it, there was an issue with notice, and they had to re-notice everything?
Yeah, I mean, wasn't that with you guys, or was it before?
Well, it certainly was. I don't think it was. I don't think you guys would know.
Oh,
I don't think.
maybe not.
I don't think I was here, but I don't think you guys were here when they did it.
so there's a lot of, drainage structures.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a huge, huge project.
This is huge.
Very big.
Hay bales, how long did they stay up for? Is it a year after it's done?
Aren't they supposed to stay up until the certificate of
Compliance
compliance?
is issued.
Okay.
They're
So-
actually in
No,
a
because
sad.
you noticed the ones going up along the side, they were kind of all.
They look bad.
They'd be
Yeah.
Right, really,
Yeah.
the intent is till everything stabilizes and we're happy with
Okay.
everything.
Is there another thing to do besides hay bales? Is there another?
Hay bales or silt fences, I don't personally like the silt fences because they wave if they're not installed properly, and a lot of people don't put them in right. I like the double row of hay bales, but they always, that's the problem with them is that they do.
Well, maybe Jerry and Russ might ask our friends in Norwell, because I think they have another thing they use instead of
They have
hay
all
bales.
sorts of like these,
Swaddles.
they have these, we saw them at
The hay bales with the silt fence.
Yeah.
well,
Other than that.
they have these like,
This, I think
they
it's
look
called
like
swaddles.
snakes. They look like
snakes.
snakes. And
Yeah.
you lie them along. You could stake them just like the hay bales, and then they stay intact a little longer, I think.
Are you gonna be
they
at the
also
next
have their
meeting,
own
or are you
issues,
on
yeah.
vacation?
When's the
Hay
next
bales are
meeting?
just
The next
cheap
meeting
and
would be
easy.
August
They're
13th.
expensive. So that's what.
I may be
talk
away.
about.
Okay.
Okay.
And should I let Al Trachomas know the planning doesn't meet until September?
Yeah, yeah. What Nancy and I are talking about is, Adam Street. They want to put it on until after the planning board meets. He wanted a date in August after the planning board meets, but apparently planning isn't meeting in August.
Which you
And
probably didn't realize.
yeah, so there was issues before with notice of the abutters, and so that's why we're thinking maybe it should be a September meeting. Do you think we'll have to find out when planning is finished? But you wanted them to go to planning first, right, before they
I
came
think
back
they should
here.
go to planning first so that we don't get in the roundabout thing that we've approved something that planning's not done with. Especially where I think we still had I had some issues, I don't know, I think Joe did too, with the 4 foot of separation and the 2 foot of separation.
Right, right.
And the whole right-of-way thing, which I'm not sure that they've resolved because I haven't seen anything.
And Nancy and I just have a problem with the open meeting law because there was lots of messing of giving notice to the abutters, and we had a few attempts
It seems like it's been so
at
long
this.
that it probably needs to be re-advertised.
Oh, it would have to be done. So I just wanted I wanted to date final that we are going to do it. So I think what we'll do is I'll talk to Tracksmith and see if I can come up with a date.
Okay.
Does that sound good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, really, it's a matter of whether PMP is satisfied with the plans that they have.
Now looking down over the next few months. September sounds a rather hairy month because we're talking about doing the open spaces, maybe giving as much as 2 meetings to that. I know you wanted a meeting
Right.
just to talk about that, to make sure we didn't have anything else on.
Correct.
Which is kind of tough if people, not for certificates of compliance, but unless they want something, but any other things, notice of intent, often we have to deal with them. We deal pretty quickly anyway. Do we have anything else that we were going to do? The assessors meeting, but that would all handle it, the same one.
Yeah, and I have been working on the fee thing, so at some point I'll try
Yes.
to schedule myself in. I thought I actually wanted to do 2 separate things. The first time is just talk about how we collect our fees and where the fees come from, and maybe show you how we do it, and then the next time probably talk about what my research was. 'Cause
Excellent.
I thought it would, because it's complicated.
Okay.
It's not complicated, but it is.
That
Nancy
sounds
knows
good.
what I mean.
That sounds good. That sounds good. And then just last, there was a meeting today on the arch, right? Island Grove, which we've got nothing to worry about, right? We don't deal with that at all, right? You told Mr. Is Mr.
We are the only person involved.
Did he realise that? I don't know if he realised that, but now he does, presumably. You told him.
The fellas that they want to come meet in 2 weeks, Nancy, can you put them in the agenda?
Oh, okay.
What it is I've never been involved until today, so these 2 fellas that came in, they have the specs and they get the bids in, but they want the order of conditions in the bid. And they want to come in 2 weeks, and we've got to learn about how this is done, because they're going to be blasting, there's sandblasting and other things. And I said to him, well, this is over 100 years old. Do you think, there's got to be lead in there.
Yeah.
And there's got to be other materials that were illegal since then. So they have to address all those situations either by, say they put something on the ground, or they're going to have to put floaters in the pond. Right. And there's a lot involved in it.
And actually, I should say, we're talking about the Island Grove and the arch.
Right.
Yeah.
But they're talking about sandblasting. Well, I say sandblasting to clean it up.
So
yeah.
are they
have
gonna
to,
do
and they're going to be chipping out the regrouting and everything. And I presume that most likely there's got to be lead in there from the old days.
So they're not gonna work on the foundation or what's
No,
underneath?
just the arch.
Just
and
the arch itself?
The eagle and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
But there's going to be staging, the building inspector is going to be in charge of staging, but most of the other responsibility comes to us. And we have to do the audit condition. They're going to put that in with the bid, so that,
So they'll need to file a notice of intent with us? Is that what I think I'm getting
Yeah.
out of this? And then
They're gonna have to.
It's and then we have to issue an order of conditions.
But they want to come in 2 weeks, so I'll get some more information.
Okay, that sounds
But it
good.
was,
Did-
Is it
did
going to
we-
be,
This is.
our next regular meeting would be the 13th,
3 weeks. Right?
but in,
3 weeks, whatever.
okay.
No.
Because the schedule is, they can't work in the cold and they can't work in the summer. So right now, they hoping maybe they could do some work in the fall and then come back next spring and finish up before June, the end of June, which the kids come in. Or they'll start in March and try and get it done before June next year. But it's gonna take 2 to 3 months when they're doing it.
And are they going to give us a notice of intent? Is that what they intend to do? Right.
They have to-
Okay.
This is all,
So-
and they wanna, they wanna come in and get the audit condition, 'cause like I said, it's gonna be in the bid, and the person,
But on the
Doing the job is
13th that
gonna
we're
happen.
talking about, they just wanna come to talk to us and then
we're
submit.
gonna start the process. I'll get some more information in the next
Okay.
3 weeks, and I'll have it.
Did we get an answer from? Did you ask DEP about notice of abutters? Was that the one you were asking me about, the notice of abutters for notice of intent?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a question
Oh,
about
that's a good one, Nancy.
yes, how many abutters they
Would
contact.
we even have
Because it's
butters?
because it's the direct
There's
abutter thing.
no butters, I think they just said that today.
The property is actually Island Grove is what the point is, and it's big, and it has a bunch of abutters.
So they're talking, so if they're doing something in the middle of
Well-
Island Grove encompasses the whole pond, which means that's a piece of land, so you have to notify anybody that abuts
whatever it's a whole
Really?
town-owned parcel, it's one parcel, is it, Nancy?
Yeah,
No,
but
work
then,
area's nowhere near.
wasn't it from
No,
from one
the
end,
only thing
it's
I'm worried about is
the water,
noise.
and
The,
you wouldn't have to
flats
notify
are-
anybody on that side,
Yeah.
but you would from the arch the other way.
Well,
Oh,
can you
geez.
do the 100 feet? Can you use that as a?
No,
I-
zoning and
100 feet
planning
across
use
the
three,
pond.
within, zoning and planning use
That's
within
it.
300 feet, but
Just
I
the
thought we
fish.
were direct abutters, we don't have the 300 feet thing. I think the regs say direct abutters for Concom, don't they?
But it's supposed to be, there's a section in there, and I'll pull it out for the next
Yeah,
one.
I'll research
I talked to
it.
her a while back, I can't.
I'll research it and see, because that was an issue.
Yeah.
Because actually, that segues very quickly into one thing that I was thinking of, which is they're going to need money, and we're doing an open space plan. So maybe we should look, Conservation Commission should look and see what kind of monies we can actually apply for Island Grove. Because I think they're
Somebody
already
just,
doing-
they were talking about that, I wasn't listening to that part.
Yeah.
Somebody had applied for something, and they got it. I mean, I think Dory was talking about that.
I think they got $5,000. That's what I was told.
They have a budget of about 300,000,
Yeah.
I think.
That's right. I think the amount of money they got is very
And
little.
they
compared
thought,
to-
they hope the bids come in the 250s and 260s, 270s. So they'll have
So
some
how
stuff
do they
left
plan
over.
to pay for it? Out of town funds?
I have no idea.
I think they set aside some money.
I think they did too.
Yeah. But I mean, that's one of the reasons we're doing this open space plan. And there are two sources, state and federal funds, that the conservation people are always telling us about, right? The Massachusetts Conservation Commission.
Well, like we talked about, what towns are rich with conservation money, like Norwell and the others.
Yeah.
They,
Well, they have. I mean, their resources.
they've been on top of a long time. They've been moving in most of those towns.
Yes, and I mean they get grants, so maybe we should look into that, and I'll put some feelers out. They have the preservation tax, though.
Yeah.
They have we don't have that,
Correct.
but they have that. All right, I think we've gone through everything. Approval of minutes, June 25th, 2013. Did everybody get a chance to read them? Are there any
They don't
comments?
wanna put back.
Yeah, you'll have them there. Nancy's going to have them there. Are there any
They're in the
comments?
packet.
Oh, they're in the packet.
There were, yeah.
Just don't want to get them lost.
Any amendments? Do I have a vote to approve the minutes of June 25th, 2013? Thank you, Russ. Anybody else? Second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favour?
Aye.
The minutes of July 9th, 2013?
Oh, I need to abstain for July 25th, Nancy.
Okay. July 9th, 2013. Does anybody have any comments on those minutes? Do I have a motion to approve those minutes?
Make a motion, we approve the minutes.
Thank you, Jerry. Second?
Second.
Jerry. All those in favour?
Aye.
And just very lastly, the building permits, 569 Adam Street, Randolph Street, Isabel Street, Central Street and Vernon Street. You went off on those?
I did, Alan, Randolph, Isabel, and Vernon.
And I do Central.
You did Central,
That
yes.
was all set.
And we're all set. Excellent. This is a great way of actually diminishing a lot of the work that comes before us, so thank you very much for doing that. Do I have a motion to end the meeting?
Motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you.
Second.
All those in favour?
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen and ladies. Let me just turn off
Nancy, this
the...
is the stuff they gave me today at the meeting. This is for you.
Oh, okay, so you can put, this is
You can
pretty.
take it home.